2.6, 2.7, Part 2. Before we start the next section, we need to do a couple of vocabulary words. So our first vocabulary word here is coefficient. Coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So it is the number in front of the letter. Like terms are terms that contain the same variables raised to the same power. And our last one here, a simplified expression. A simplified expression is an expression that contains no parentheses. So we get rid of those by using distributive property like we did in the last section. And all like terms have been combined. And that's what we're going to do now. So the first thing we need to do is we need to be able to determine which ones are like terms. So now remember, in order for something to be a like term, it has to have the same variable raised to the same power. So I like to think of it as like names. So the number in front of all of these is like the first name, and all the variables is like the last name. So they have to have the same last name or the same variable in order to be like terms. So in number 1, I have 4x. 4x would be a like term with negative 2x and x, because they all have an x. So 4x, negative 2x, and x would all be like terms. 4x squared would not match with that because this one has a square and these do not. Same thing with an 8. The 8 doesn't have any x's at all, so it's not a like term either. For number 2, I have 22b, negative 5b, and 8b. They all have the same letter b, so those are all like terms. On the other hand, b squared is not a like term because this one has a square and the others do not. And the 5 is not a like term because it doesn't have a letter on it at all. So number 3, when we look, I'm going to erase this top one here so I can see. So I have 17a squared, negative 2a squared, and 6a squared. These are all like terms because they all have a squared in them. Okay? On the other hand, I have negative a and 3a. These two are also like terms because they both have an a. However, these a's and these a squareds are not like terms. So my green ones are like terms and my red ones are like terms, but they're not all like terms. The number 2 doesn't have any like terms because there are no other terms that are just numbers. Our last one here. So I have 8, negative 4, and 7.5. These are all like terms because they have just numbers. There's no letters at all. When I look at 3m, it doesn't have any other like terms because I don't have any ones that have just an m in them. Same thing with 3n. It doesn't have anything with an n in it either. So these don't have any other like terms. So remember, in order to be a like term, they have to have the same letter, raised to the same power. Okay? So that last letter on the back here has to be exactly the same. At this point, you're going to stop, and you're going to complete section 2.6, 2.7, checkpoint 2.